Welcome to the Pen Leader Podcast, where strategic leaders get straight to the topics, strengthening our awareness and sharpening our minds. The Pen Leader Podcast is produced by Roar, a production division of Mays & Associates Ltd. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Now here is your award-winning host, Dr. Shanda Gore.
And welcome to the Pen Leader Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about culture in the pivot. And I'm so glad to have with me Miss Jacqueline Johnson, who is a board chair of the M&A Culture Building Institute. Miss Johnson is the Outreach and Special Events Manager for the City of Toledo Department of Parks and Recreation, and she has more than 20 years of leadership experience in public service, banking, and finance. She holds a Bachelor's of Arts with a focus of organizational leadership and management. Jacqueline has led high-performing teams with significant financial and operational results, and her work has contributed to award-winning initiatives recognized by Ohio Parks and Recreation Association. Jacqueline is known as the strategic result-driven leader, known for her financial acumen, her vision, and transformative impact on organization and communities. And without further ado, welcome.
Oh, welcome. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. And, such an area to talk about, making a pivot. And first of all, we should probably explain what the M&A Culture Building Institute is. You chair that, and I know you have a number of roles and leadership and responsibilities, but can you explain a little bit about that? And
Definitely. The Culture Building Institute is about belonging and opportunities that we create for our communities, cultivates a diverse perspective, it creates experiences, and build understanding and the connections in the culture respect. The mission is more important today than ever before.
Yes. And for those listening that are running very large organizations or trying to create culture, some type of culture within their organizations, this is a great example. This whole group is really focused on doing that, but on a broader scale. I understand you have a number of pillars that you focus on.
Oh, yes. Our pillars is like our flagship. So we have 4 different pillars. One is our bridge building and cross-sector collaboration, health and well-being, education, and sports and culture. So each one of those pillars are a way for our board members to be engaged, empowered, and create initiatives that we can push out into the broader community.
That's excellent. You know what I love about the M&A too is the fact that you're not replicating what's out in the community. You really are leading in a way of like how to make connections between those that are doing great work. And I think of those organizations out there, especially my for-profits, they're trying to, it's not like you're trying to be in the competition. You're trying to actually help and fulfill a need that's out there, a big hole that's out there in the community.
Each one of our pillars are really focused on having collaboration, and we are looking for additional committee members that they just focus on helping build out those pillars. An example is our health and well-being. We have specialists from our health insurance industries. We have specialists from our healthcare industries. That is also part of our pillars. And each one of our pillars, we look for people with those special education backgrounds or specialties within the community that can help push initiatives forward. And we're just super excited about the direction of our pillars. I think it's something unique when it comes to board structure. And so that's a strategy that was envisioned prior to me taking the board position, but we're excited about getting it implemented and moving forward.
Excellent. As a new board chair, and then for those again who are listening who saying, I'm getting ready to step into a board position, or I'm not even sure about joining a board. What was one of the first priorities that you had when you took over as a board chair?
The first priority was to have a clear understanding of what the vision is for the board and the initiatives that was driving those that was already part of the board committee, and being respectful of those who have set up that vision. And then to come with a strategic plan and a communication plan to pivot us into a different direction, not just about just the implementation, but to activate and design initiatives that will make community impacts.
Mm-hmm. So the first thing that you did when you were starting to actually understand that, What are some of the action steps that you took?
It was really interesting before when we were just having the conversation about me becoming board chair. I actually reached out to the admin for the culture building and asked her to send me the files and I just wanted to take a look at the structure that was currently in place, some of the initiatives that were probably still in the design phase, and to see how we can move things forward. So it took a time to just kind of understand the structure as it was, and where do we take that structure strategically moving forward.
Hmm. What signaled that the organization needed to pivot? And again, a critical part of any organization. Every organization goes through a pivot moment, but what was the signal for that?
The signal for me, and I was a board member beforehand, is that you start seeing a little bit of disengagement. You start seeing initiatives not moving forward. You see a lot of conversation in board meetings, but no implementation,
Mm,
no design, no focus. So that's what kind of alerted me myself. And you want to keep your board members engaged. That's volunteer hours. And so you want to make sure they're empowered and feeling a part of the organization that's moving forward. And that was one of the key things is some of the disengagements.
mhm. What have you personally learned about stepping into this new leadership role during the transition? I mean, what would you share that you said, you know what, I learned this, and this is how I would advise anybody doing that type of stepping into a role?
Think what I've learned in essence is to be respectful of prior leadership and also to make concrete, precise decision and to be real clear about your communication. And then also structure and design where the current board is receptive to it and understand that there is a need to move forward.
Mhm, mhm. I was thinking about advice that you would give to new board chairs who are inheriting, an organization in mid pivot. You've made some recommendations. I know a couple of items here about checking on history and, talking with the administrative assistant or whoever is in operations to be able to do that. But you've also had a conversation about, which it was interesting, and I think even before we started talking about, being respectful of the past, but knowing that we've gotta move forward in this engagement part.
Definitely. New board chairs, I would just definitely encourage them to assess the structure that is currently in line, define roles within the board, protect the board and the fiduciary oversight, and assign ownership quickly.
Mm,
And that's one of the things that our pillars allowed us to do is to assign ownership quickly. We set them up with leadership. We set them up with board members. And then we moved so quickly. I think we did a really great job. We started recruiting. We got new more board members rather in the first 60 days of me taking over the chair position.
mhm. It's very, quick, and just some observations, so which, I think board members appreciate that, like guidance, clear direction. What are we gonna do? What's the next 6 months gonna look like? What's the next 12 months gonna look like? What's our ultimate goal? I mean, these are questions that come up, and for those that are sitting there going, "Wow, that sounds like our next meeting with," if you haven't done that, potential board members and or current board members, you really need to figure out what you're doing even the first 10 minutes of the meeting. Am I right?
Correct. Definitely believe in communication, and I probably overwhelmed our new board members with a lot of communication, but I wanted them to understand the structure because I believe as people understand the structure and the goals and where we're going, it's like a roadmap. And so I wanted them to have that roadmap to what to expect in the road as a board member. I think we did a really great job of that based on the recruitment that we had. And so, yeah.
I also think there's something said about reaching out and having these one-to-one conversations, like, this is what this is gonna look like, what the position of the board, expectation levels, is it a board that gives? Is it a board there's some boards out there that they even get paid for their time. This one, I understand this board is not, but there are some boards that do that. So, it just expectation of reach, there's some that say, "I just wanna do a national board, or I don't wanna do a regional board." Let me just emphasize, boards are so important to get the experience, either an advisory or governing board. And I think you do a really great way of just explaining. Can you talk a little bit about the governing board versus the advisory board, especially with when you got new members coming on?
Definitely. And I really like the structure. And my degree work is organizational leadership and management with a bachelor's in arts. So it's kind of like my mind is programmed for structure. So we started out the board with our executive team, executive level board members, and then we build it out into our 4 pillars. And then inside the 4 pillars, you have four pillar leaders, and then you have board members. And then we go down a little bit further so we can get more engagement from the community. We go down and get committee members. So the committee members don't have as much oversight or voting ability as the natural board would have. And so now as people roll off of boards, I'm really excited about having them have an opportunity to still have their hands in place with activities and the different things that the board is doing by having advisory roles. And so we keep everybody with CBI or the Culture Building Institute and M&A, we keep our board members, we keep our advisory in advisory capacity. So I'm looking forward to that flushing out as in the future.
Hmm. I know for those I've talked to individuals who say, I don't do advisory boards anymore. I only do governing boards. And I'm like, well, that's great for you because maybe you're in a different season. But I would just recommend anybody who's even thinking about board work. There's really a very important part that advisory boards play in giving that feedback that's necessary to help guide, especially if strategic planning is coming up. And governing boards, again, are governing their voting. They're voting and making the call concerning budgets and voting on with members coming in. There's nuances, but I think that advisory boards have their place. And I would recommend anybody who's been asked, "Well, I'd rather be on a governing board." Just know there's also added responsibility that goes with governing boards as well. And if you're not really to make that commitment, please check, and make sure advisory board, that might be the way to go.
Definitely, definitely. I'm glad we have set it up and structured CBI to have that opportunity for our board members as they roll off of the full commitment. We have people that are retiring, so they may not have that much commitment time. And so advisory positions, but they still want to stay engaged in what is flushing out and the different initiatives that we're pushing forward.
I'd also like to encourage that individuals, and I think you've done a wonderful job in pivoting, especially talking about the committee work, that it's not necessarily being on a board that you could make an impact. You can make an impact in on a committee, which then you can kind of figure out, is this board or is this even a possibility for me? Like, does this make sense? So it's that time to feel it out and see if it makes sense or not.
Definitely. And that's, like I said, the structure is that was the whole pretense, is that it gives us the opportunity to introduce people to CBI, and something they're passionate about. You got 4 pillars, you got 4 different avenues that if you have an interest in making an impact in the community in any of those areas, you can take a committee role. And as you become more comfortable with the committee role, there's an opportunity that you can become a board member. So this is like a stepping stone. And I think it's a great way that we have it structured. I'm loving this way.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Let's talk about fatigue if we can, because there's so many things. It might be economics. It may be an external factor that may be playing a part, or it could be an internal. Maybe you've got a lot of work on your plate. How would you recommend or would you suggest in maintaining any kind of momentum for a board or a committee when there's change fatigue happening as well? What would you say?
Definitely. I'm hoping our team doesn't have it yet, because I want to make sure they have visible wins, create visible wins. And I think one of them is that we got 4 new board members. So that's a visible win to our team. Celebrate progresses. We have recruitment strategies continue. We're right now in a phase of trying to get some more committee members. So I think that helps flush out and keep people engaged and keep communication transparent. You can't have enough communication go out and let people know about the process and the progress that we're doing. And then the meetings, our pillar meetings, having one person, and that's another thing with our pillar leaders, everybody that's in that pillar has one person. If you can't get a hold of me, you can definitely get a hold of your leader. So it's always someone you can direct any concerns or questions to. So we have to make ourselves available to our board members and our committee members and our advisory board also in a leadership role.
Excellent. Well, I have to say, you are, when we talk about award winning and being a leader in their field, I want to say, because you not say it was not in your bio, but you won a number of awards, especially for the work you've done and your outreach. Could you talk to those awards just really briefly,
Oh,
please?
sure. Health and well-being, parks and recreation. I'm very fortunate to work under leadership that has allowed me to design some award-winning programs. One of them is our City of Toledo has a Let's Get Moving walking program that has been flushed out where we're now in our fifth year. I believe this is our fifth year. Won that award first. And then in my second year, I helped design and create the grant program that the City of Toledo utilized for the ARPA program, which is still in existence today. It's been a sustainable program. And I'm truly focused on sustainable program. I think a lot of people have these one-hit wonders, and that's okay if you have a one program that lasts. But my focus is to design programming that lasts, even in my transition, and there's something that someone else can build upon. So as a great leader, I think we should always be focused on that. And then I just worked with the Drug Enforcement Agency and the Drug Enforcement Foundation on One Pill Can Kill, One Voice Can Save a Life that's focused on fentanyl overdose, misuse, and abuse. We won first place in Ohio Parks and Recreation Association.
Excellent. Yes.
It's a wonderful. My team is amazing. They allow me to be creative. I'm just really proud of that group.
Excellent work. So, you can lead across a number of areas, which I'm excited. I'm excited. Well, this is the fun part of questions is like with all that you're doing, leading boards and winning awards and leading teams, what are you reading and what are you watching?
Right now, we actually have two authors on our board. So, of course, your book, The Pen Leader Path,
Oh,
and then Dr. Stephanie Cuffington, who's on the education board. She just released a book titled The Power of the Promise, Living in the Fullness of God's Blessing. It's a 30-day devotional that's out. Absolutely loving that. I move according to purpose, move according to belief and purpose, faith-based and not ashamed of it. So I'm excited about her book doing really well.
excellent. Excellent. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing these different components, especially for those that are thinking about boards coming. And this is board season. Usually, at the beginning of the year, there's a changeover unless they're in a fiscal year. But this is the time that people start thinking about even going on to boards. So, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough.
No, thank you for having me. This is great. Thank you so much.
Excellent. And we want to thank our listeners for liking the show and sharing it. We so appreciate you. And we'd like to thank our sponsor, J. Foster Jewelers, family owned, offering the finest natural gemstones, stunning engagement rings, and brilliant diamonds. And we also like to thank Mr. Brian Davis for all of your home, auto, life insurance needs. Contact Brian Davis, State Farm. Like a good neighbor, Brian is there. And of course, until next time.
The Pen Leader podcast is hosted by Dr. Shanda Gore and brought to you by Mays & Associates Ltd., creating customized solutions for growth in the areas of leadership development, strategic planning, and culture building. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Pen Leader podcast and share with others.